Alright. Hello, everyone. Our Pie Spy is here for today's match between Scorch and Froggy Style. And we should be jumping into the Draft 4 Game 1 here momentarily. Starting off with Rakan ban for Scorch. I believe that is a common opt-to for them. It's nice to see that Victor has kind of dropped in ban priority, but we'll see if he gets picked in B1 or R1. Who knows? Maybe he's just dropped out of style. Unsure of how he was affected over the past several months. So. Alright. After the Rakan ban, there's Zoe and Nocturne knocked out, alongside Gwen, Zillion, and waiting for it. Is the music? Oh no, it's fine. Seraphine for the final pick. A Mumu locked in first pick. Oh no, hovered. Last game I casted also had a Mumu for one of the picks. I believe it was on the losing team, but was able to. Or wait. Actually, no, I can't recall. My memory is flubbed. Whatever. But a Mumu first pick on Scorch might be an indicator that there may be a bit AP focus on their end. But that could always be a distraction. But regardless, strong CC on his own. A lot of early game power should he manage to land those bandage tosses. Out comes the Sejuani and Xayah picks to counteract. The Xayah, obvious ultimate for the disengage. They were hovering Tristana, who would have a decent advantage over Amumu, just part way, since I believe that his bandage toss into ultimate is quick enough to generally pull or ground her before a rocket jump makes a full leap, which is probably why they opted for the Xayah instead. Also probably the case because they might want to play closer, and Xayah does at least permit a bit of safety should that happen if it gets to that point. Well, Scorch seems to be opting for a fairly aggressive setup so far, covering the Aurelion Soul. Maybe the Vex? Unsure how I would feel about a Vex pick, but that is the third Yordle lock-in thus far. Counteracted with Victor on Froggy Style. Now, we did see this matchup. I am pretty sure that was on game 2. Last match I casted, in which the Victor made it a not great time for the Vex when that occurred. Here's the Lulu ban, having received nerfs in this recent patch. Or soon to come patch. I'm not sure if it's out yet. I'm pretty sure it's out. It's a Thursday. How could it not be? Followed by Malphite, Camille, and to finish it off, Thresh. So that is a few pick players taken out of the picture for Scorch. So they may be going for a protection angle on the Tristana, we'll see. But I feel that they need to be very careful about what they pick to accompany what they've gone with thus far, especially into their matchup. Again, not particularly certain on how well the Victor will play into, and how well the Vex is going to play into Victor this time around. Maybe they'll step it up and we will see at least a neutral lane, if not a positive outset. The Renekton lock being possibly followed up by a Cassante here. Unsure how I feel about the Renekton, but again, it is into 3 Yordles. Boo. Sorry. Yuumi locked in 5th pick for Scorch. Followed by possibly wrong. There it is. Alright, both teams fully picked and should be going into the main client draft here in a second. But looks like we have a 50-50 of spectator opinion on Yuumi. Feel free to speak up against Yuumi. Mustafa Fan Club. Alright, as the actual draft is indeed kicking off right now. Wait a second. There is no audio coming out of the main audio. Let me just make sure that is a glitch. Okay, yeah, I think there might be sort of glitch with my audio at the moment. I'll probably need to fix it when we get in game. Okay. That should have fixed it. As I do see the bars. Good thing I realized that already. Swap that. While we wait for the game to go in, let's see if I can deduce how the match will go. So not sure how to feel about Renekton. I know that Cassante's received countless nerfs at the moment, so I think that there might be a bit of struggle for him into the Renekton Sejuani, especially since it's split damage. So just building armor alone likely won't cut it, especially since Renekton does have his ultimate to pair up against the resistances that Cassante may build early. I think that if Renekton gets a notable lead, that he will become an absolute menace. Point that Yuumi likely won't be able to do anything for the most part. Sejuani pretty okay when it comes to picks. If I recall, or well, I am positive that her E does have a displacement effect, which can disrupt Tristana. I'm not sure if that displacement effect still takes place with the stun from her ultimate. I would assume so, because I think it goes on the same cooldown, but not 100% certain. Mid lane matchup, I do put favoritism on the Victor over the Vex. However, any successful movements from a Mumu into the lane could prove well, but Sejuani just as solid a pick of disruption there. And I feel if it does get in a 2v2 situation, that because of how kind of unreliable Vex is at landing abilities just as a champion, that might become problematic for Scorch later on. But we'll see. It's all based on the hands of those controlling as we are headed in. And the bot lane has a Yuumi, so naturally I can't be on Scorch's side for that part. In terms of scaling, Renekton scaling not great, Victor scaling very good, Tristana scaling very good. Xayah not quite as much, but she does have a few tanks to go into, which does help. But one of their hitboxes is relatively small, as well as all the Yordles. That could work negatively against her, but we shall see. Even if they are Yordles with small hitboxes, Xayah does a lot of damage on her own, so they would just get vaporized regardless. So
30 seconds until minions spawn.
early play came in, and they were spotted. As both bot lane wards for Scorch have been used already, and Froggy style wanting to go around. Don't think they were seen. Tristana gonna be walking into the Braum. Alright, first passive proc. There comes the rocket jump. That will be no E available for rank 1. Could be used to the advantage of Froggy style because Tristana generally sits on her E, or on 0 points until necessary, at least in early ranks, so as not to push, but still having that power in case it's needed to like trade with your opponents. Not having that could very well hurt the trading power of Tristana, as is seen there without the bomb available to her. Braum did not really take all that much. Sejuani spotted, or at least tracked. Yeah, there was a ward. Definitely was spotted. As both junglers seem to be going... Ooh, Amumu might be looking to head top lane early. We'll see. Sejuani also kind of doing the same. Looks like he doesn't see anything to play off top side, or just not healthy enough to make any use of it. While Sejuani is going to have to walk quite the distance to match his movement, so he at least gets an advantage on the second half of this clear. As Renekton does head out to scout, doesn't really notice anything. Didn't see the tri-bush, but he's banking on Amumu not quite being there. Vex taking a beating. Nice trade from the Renekton. Barely gets scraped by K'Sante's stun there. Fortunately leaves him with much lower health than he had hoped for. K'Sante does have a potion on hand as well. There comes the ping. Vex seems to be expecting something. Maybe? Alright. Renekton going ham. Does still have his Q off cooldown. Amu will be walking in. Vex has a wave attacking her at the moment, as Victor is most definitely out, unless there's a flash. Alright, flash for flash. As Amumu is working his way towards his top, is spotted by Renekton's ward. As Sejuani rounds up the tri-bush. There comes the rocket jump, but was not on its mark to prevent the Tristana from going away. Could have ended badly, should have it landed where it needed to. Huh. Xayah not managing to hit the final proc on Brahm's passive there. The teleport from Cassante back to lane with a Bramble Vest at the ready. Puts him in a really big advantage into the Renekton at the moment. We'll see if Sejuani decides to come over and change it up a bit. Oof. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, might want to step back here now. But very risky spot to recall since, you know, Cassante does have the range. Boomstra having to flash to get away from the Sejuani. Gets nicked, but not much more than that. Teleport should be coming in quite quick from the Renekton. Tristana hasn't gone back yet, so she's at an advantage. Ooh, here comes Sejuani rounding around. Does get spotted on... No, that wasn't Cassante's ward. Looking ahead bot. Bomb, bandage toss. Nicely avoided. As Amu walks out back into the jungle. Ooh, Tristana taking a beating. Health getting quite low. Alright, level 5s have been hit. Equal terms. The poke from Xayah being pretty relentless there. And Vex does manage to maintain a relatively even state with the Victor, so good stuff so far. We'll see just how far we go. Victor sitting on 68 stacks. I forget the thresholds for his upgrades. Tristana will be taking her first back here shortly. Or at least is trying to. Xayah does manage to get a plate, putting her around a 300 gold lead of Tristana. It is not a cannon wave at the moment, so there will be some lost resources, but each side decides it's just fine with them. We'll leave it to fate to decide which side pushes. And looks to be relatively even. Cassante going ham does have a level lead onto Renekton. Not for very much longer though. Does take 2 tower shots. Amumu was sitting in red side's jungle. I didn't realize it later, but good avoid from the Xayah. Sejuani and Braum might want to stay more alert position. Sure that Xayah doesn't get taken over. Fortunately, there was not enough map pressure to prevent Vex from hovering over. But it does give Victor a pretty decent lead with Vex sitting where she is. Renekton getting some pretty fair trades. Does avoid the third Q. Victor at a bad spot, does not have teleport available. Vex ultimate landing, bandage toss, following up right after with the Amumu ultimate. First blood going to the Amumu. Wind Dragon should be going to Froggy. But will also be 3 grubs for Scorch. Like to say that trade was in Scorch's favor. Victor still on a... has a slight lead over Vex. Otherwise, it's mostly equal. The lead only mostly being because of Vex laning towards the dragon to provide support. But That is what led to Victor's death, and a bit of gold to the Amumu. Hoping he makes use of that, as Renekton and Cassante will continue making trades. Tristana comes down for an engagement. Zaya's running pretty low on mana. The healing from Yuumi basically negating everything that Zaya was able to put out there, but she does still have her ultimate, but again, very low health at the moment. So it's not like she has very much at her disposal other than cleanse. A lot of damage onto the Braum from the Tristana. It's the unfortunate thing going against Tristana is Braum, since you don't mitigate the bomb damage at all. Not quite like Pantheon, fortunately. Oof. Ooh, beautiful! Cooperation down there. Braum should be going down. Right here, maybe? No? Oof. Oh. No! Zaya! You gotta be wary of the 1300 range Q from Yuumi. At least the kill went to Yuumi, but that is still gold that you do not want to Tristana have access to. However, unfortunately for the Tristana, Yuumi getting that gold actually does mean that Zaya will have an item lead over her. So despite having that bit of victory, could potentially turn against them. See how it goes though. That was the second kill for Scorch. Just need... Bomb exploded, Yuumi ult coming out. Braum working his way down, but Vex and Amumu are on this end of the map as well, so you do kind of have to play it safe here. Vex is getting spotted out by the Victor. Gonna have to make a relatively safe space here for the Zaya to be able to do what she wants to do for the time being. Not very safe if you're Vex, though. Getting forced out by Victor yet again. Doesn't have his item yet, the Victor. And I think Vex still needs a bit more herself. Fortunately, Renekton's kind of been playing on the back end this whole match, thanks to the incessant armor stacking from Cassante, permitting him to effectively shrug off everything he takes. A lot of aggression going on towards the Tristana, not really going to be amounting to much. Cassante still has access to his ultimate here. Full Fury Renekton, though, could be dangerous. There comes the flash for Cassante. Ultim over, does not reach the wall, so Renekton's not quite death sentenced here, but still not in a great position. And that is the first feat awarded to Scorch. Something, something, maybe AP Renekton, something, something. I kid. As Cassante manages to take 2 plates on his own. Or soon, maybe? Lots of pings going out. Hiding in the bush. As Rusty Crow places the pink ward. Second pink ward. Lands the bandage toss onto Sejuani. She is going to have that damage mitigation early on. Braum blocking further shots. There comes the teleport from Renekton, but it was fully disengaged by the time he had reached there. He'll be opting to turn this into a dragon attempt. Amumu does still have his ultimate. Sej ult is down. Braum ult is down. Renekton ult is down. But they do manage to secure the dragon. Late teleport coming in for the Cassante. Bandage toss comes out, as well as the Zaya ultimate very prematurely. Vex ultimate lands. Tristana hopping in twice, but will she have pushed herself a bit too far? Yes, she had. Kill going to Renekton. Zaya trying to do what she can, but unfortunately not great placements for her between all of the targets that she's been getting. Not much after that. As Renekton seemingly decides to turn around, maybe putting off pressure. Provide a bit of solace to Victor in case the opponents try to do something. Turn looks like he'll be opting for Mercury Treads on his second item. Mitigate a lot of the heavy stunning from Cassante. It's pretty wild how just getting nicked by the tip of his W is enough to stun you for like 2 seconds. Alright, Braum working his way towards the top side. We'll see how the Sundered Spear is going to do work for Renekton here. Guardian comes out. Few misses. Gets a slow Celestial Opposition. There's the stun. Shield's doing quite a bit. Victor here should prove... Nope, unfortunate. Just too much mobility in Cassante's evasiveness. Vex seemingly on route to take the first tower. No, second. Alright, first tower going to Tristana. That will be their second defeat, which locks in the boot upgrade for Team Scorch. While Froggy has been opting for the Dragon Control. And I did not see the status of the grubs. Ah, it was 3 Void Grubs for Scorch, no more. I forgot that it is actually detailed top bar. Alright, heroes still sitting on just the singular item. Finish their Zerk boots for the move speed. Well, and attack speed. But generally tier 2 is for the move speed. Renekton continuing to struggle a bit up top. Does have his Merc Treads at the moment at the very least. Ooh. Tristana going heavy onto the Victor, who had no way out thanks to Flash being down. As Cassante trying to take 3 at a time at the moment. Vex going hard on Zaya. Will get hit by nearly every feather. Flash for Flash. Does get away. As Tristana takes the second turret, bumping her to a roughly 900 gold lead over Zaya at this point. We'll see how the match is going to go from there. Having a fed Tristana, always very good. And having the cat on her doesn't make it all that better for Froggy, unfortunately. At the very least, they do have methods of disruption, but Tristana does have cleanse, so we'll see how things go from there. Braum nearly getting caught out. Everyone is setting up for this next dragon here. Braum getting caught by the bandage toss. Ultimate comes out, hits 3. Uses his flash only to die to the Vex. As this looks like it will be a Scorch dragon, perhaps. as the best Froggy can do is fight for vision control. Possible turns, deciding it's too dangerous to go for that last control ward. As Fuse, deciding to take a few hits on the tower himself at the very least. Gotta get something for what you're giving up. The fight just further expanding the lead Tristana had available, and the Ocean Drake making it even more of a problem for the Renekton dealing with Cassandra. Few lands, but they are afraid to engage. There is a level difference, but it is a big level to be mindful of. More trades between Renekton and Cassandra. Renekton doing what he can to deny Cassandra the ability to take out the tower or go behind the minion wave. As it looks like Scorch is plotting to finally remove this outer turret. Yuumi landing her Q. However, taking the tower aggro has to hop off. Ooh, Atacon is up. Saya opting to try and go for some inner tower gold. As our allies take out Atacon, there comes the Vex teleport. And once again, I'm not quite sure why Rift Herald bashing into a turret causes the camera to jump. Sejuani Q into ultimate. Vex should be going down here momentarily as the Cassandra teleport comes up. Do they decide to fight this with Amumu and Tristana on his back? All ults are ready on the remaining live Scorch members. Renekton going down very quickly to Tristana. Sejuani almost going down herself. Braum doing what he can to block all of this output. Xayah nearly killing Cassandra, but he gets by with just 200 health as Tristana attempts to give chase. Yuumi going to be giving some assistance here. Out comes the flash from Tristana. Should be able to possibly get a third. No. Sejuani passive should have kicked in at this point. Does provide her to get out. That was 3 more kills for the Tristana. This game is getting far away from Froggy at this point. The Cassandra was a bit tasty, but you gotta remember he's a tank, and when you've got absolutely terrifying threats like Tristana on the enemy side, you have to really be careful about that. Looks like we have Baron coming up in the next few minutes. Dragon should be up before then. We'll see how the teams will organize themselves before then. Braum is moving out to try and get some preemptive vision set up before the objective is passing by vision on its own. Does provide a bit of bit of knowledge for his opponents on where his vision placement might be, as well as current rotation. Not quite sure if it's a great idea to try and take this 2-on-2, especially with the pretty significant gold difference and nearly full item difference on the Tristana. Not sure if I agree with the decision to be fighting for the dragon at this point. Teams seem as if Froggy seems to need to recoup some resources after several back-to-back losses that could be regained by the tower up top, but prove me wrong. Tristana taking what pokes she can. Getting rid of Sejuani's passive is very dangerous for Froggy. There comes the bandage toss, catches 3. Xayah ultimate comes out as Sejuani is completely separated from her team, allowing Tristana to mow her down without any recourse. As Froggy decides to finally head for minions and reliable gold, leaving the second Ocean Dragon to go to Scorch. Brings our dragon value to 2 and 2. And Tristana should have enough gold for her third item now. Could be the point of no return for Froggy. Vex doing quite well. Despite losing some CS to the Victor, does have a gold lead. Is relatively XP neutral at the very least. And it seems that they're trying to set up another play on the Cassante. Maybe take out the tower. Yes. Cassante realizes this, heads out. Xayah getting vaporized by Vex. Sejuani running out, but Rocket Jump would possibly be able to follow. Opts not to. Mumu does have flash and ultimate ready. But Xayah is out. Braum taking a very... that wasn't Braum. That was Renekton trying to take a very greedy recall. Nice smite from the Sejuani, avoiding a Mumu's closing in with the bandage toss. Braum manages to avoid getting caught out yet again. Alright, so Vex is extremely dangerous for Xayah at this point, as is Tristana. And she doesn't have access to Armor Pen yet, so Amumu and Cassante aren't really going to be seeing their health bars go down quite so much. Renekton does have Black Cleaver at the very least. That provides a bit of solace for Xayah if they manage to actually get a favorable fight. But I think Victor could really use some gold at this point, as his opponents are significantly spec'd into that armor, and he absolutely needs to help a bit in tearing through that as much as he can. Here comes the attempt at a Baron sneak. So far, no suspicions raised from the Scuttle kill. Alright, half health. There is the Squire Bloom. Will they be able to get this Baron? Out comes Rusty Crow trying to get the steal. Does not succeed as Froggy manages to make it out with only a single death in Braum. Tristana being careful not to give away her own bounty to the enemy. Opting instead to take some more towers, which, you know, 4 gold. Definitely better bet than possible death. Alright, next dragon coming up here shortly, 40 seconds. Victor pushing the top lane. still relatively far from his next item out, but seems to be rotating for the objective at the moment. I would assume you'd probably want one more wave. You do have teleport at the ready. Cassante doesn't have teleport himself. Speaking of Cassante, getting caught out, losing significant amounts of health. Renekton going in, getting caught out. Tristana rocket jumping in. Possibly got a reset just now. Right. That is a 1-for-1 so far. Cassante down is pretty decent for Froggy, but Tristana is still an insane threat. Not to mention the intense pressure that Xayah has to deal with. Ultimate came out, did not really land on anyone for the most part. As Tristana positions herself quite well. Ooh, Vex ultimate lands. Will she be following through? Is at half health. Tristana going over to dissuade the Sejuani from getting even close. Should be a comfortable third Ocean Drake. Or Scorch. Banana Sword doing Cloud9 things. My life for Scuttle. As Scuttle still lives. Cassante just cross-mapping. Alright, got a 4v3 siege over here. And you really want to take out that Tristana. I feel like Xayah probably had a decent chance, maybe, back of the dragon fight. But I can't recall if that was when she used her flash. I think it was. But it seemed to me as if she tried to use the damage portion of her for Vex rather than the Tristana. And that maybe the fight could have gone at least a tad differently if it was used for the Trist. Again, unsure of the order. I did kind of lose track. It's kind of hard to tell which Yordle is which until you see their auto attack come out and chunk you for a third of your health. Alright, we have Baron coming up in another 2 minutes. As it looks like Tristana might be going for the Necton. He has to stop after the halfway point, playing it safe, as there is no pressure otherwise on the map. Not having any vision of the river is quite dangerous. As they do still try and get a pick, he gets out with his life. Surprising he only took that much considering he only has 1 armor item. That was like, what, 3 or 4 autos for the Tristana? Ooh, Tristana running Gathering Storm. Just a bit of free attack damage for her. Amumu coming in from behind will land the ultimate on Xayah and Xayah alone as the teleport comes in for the Renekton, who does get out. Cassante wanting to shrug off the tower. Does so as it gets melted by Tristana. Renekton possibly fishing for an angle. Decides not to pretty quickly though, because that kill speed from Trist is not great. The best option against it is for Braum to block the shots priming it, but if he puts it on Braum himself, probably won't happen that way. Baron is up. They will be going for it. Blast cone down. Tristana going over the wall. Being able to go past the attack speed cap is pretty darn powerful for her. As next item purchases come out, she's just shy of her next item. Honestly, at this point, get an elixir, I feel. Because you are at a point where you can close out the match. Well, Ocean Soul's up, so Cassante won't be dying here in a bit of a minute. Gage comes in, cleanse down for the Tristana, as is the Sejuani ultimate. Braum primed will take a bit of a nuke on his own. Cassante comes out, gets a single pick onto the Sejuani, gets out with her life. Flash is gone, however. Froggy's still not wanting to let this soul go away. Realizes just how fast Dragon died as their team is being turned on. Tristana trying to jump around the enemy, taking everyone out. Cassante's clearing out the rest, but dies to Xayah. She and Braum are likely going to be going for a recall here. That is 3 for 1 plus soul for Scorch. 8k gold lead. And this may just be the final push for the end. We shall see. As that is 30 seconds of death timers. There is no tank for Scorch to cover the towers other than Rusty Crow. Tristana rocket jumping behind the shield and getting the final 2 kills. That is GG Game 1 Team Scorch. As we move on to Game 2. Damage chart's gonna be crazy. Power of Tristana. Hyper carry, whom they uncapped attack speed for whatever reason. Just as they did for Jinx and Kog'Maw, Varus. For reasons I don't quite understand. Oh yeah, that's right. I could just use the same spectator. Alright, as the draft should be underway in a bit, and give me a second here so I can readjust the one thing. The team sides. You see Scorch picking red this time around because it's fitting for their team name. Which is the ideal way to pick your sides. First ban wave going yet again to the Seraphine, Gwen, and Zillion for Froggy style, while Scorch taking out the Nocturne, Rakan, and Zoe yet again. That will be a B1 Poppy for Froggy. Right, time to read through the comments a bit. Oh, it looks like there was a bot in here. Alright, back to the picks. Scorch opting for Sivir and Mel. Froggy answering with Pantheon and Misfortune. Misfortune into Mel. I am not quite sure how I feel about that. But we'll see how it goes. Xin Zhao, the final pick for round 1. So I'll go back through strolling the comments. Apologies for my cam control. I see there was a bit of sadness about it. At certain points, it's not directed cam, it's me. Which I try, but I forget which characters or which buttons at times. That was the Baron play ever. There is the Lulu lock for Scorch as it was left open in favor of a Janna ban from Foggy Style. While Scorch took out the Silas this time around. I don't know, man. Syndra and Misfortune picking Tamel seems dangerous to me. We'll see how they handle it. Okay. Decides to go for the Echo instead. Not sure how I feel about that either, but it's better than just alting yourself. So. Scorch is hovering Kale. Oh, man, though. Lulu and Sivir together is pretty nasty. And Kale to boot. That is a lot of invulnerability and heavy distractive play for Scorch's side. That will be a Poppy jungle, apparently. As the actual picks are going out now. Man, all these permitted by automod words are hilarious. I was Ligma blocked. Oh, it was added. Okay. Well, I don't know who Steve Jobs is anyways, so. Alright, and the locks have been set. I'll swap it. And move on to, once again, discussing the compositions here. As we see, enemy 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on red team seem to be quite the force to be reckoned with. Like, it's honestly crazy just how much Lulu has, like, in her kit to kind of allow games to be carried in a 2v8. And I want to see how it's going to be responded to by Froggy, because Sivir's, well, most AD carries go insanely well with Lulu, but Froggy's team seems to be one that Sivir should be able to capitalize on okay, with the only kind of outlier from it probably being Echo. But you do have, you know, Kale and Mel there, and Mel should be quite a nuisance for Echo, I would think. In the laning phase, we'll see how things go. Aatrox into Kale, I want to say that Kale would be fine, should be able to scale pretty safely. Kale has a very deceptively strong level 1. Poppy into Xin Zhao will be a bit problematic for Xin Zhao, more than likely, but there should be ample openings to make plays in the top or bot side. I don't really think that he'll need to do much on mid, but I do still think that plays in mid might be free as well, thanks to Mel's root. Will pay attention to what abilities Mel ranks throughout the match. I've heard that some players started opting to putting more ranks into the root rather than her Q, so we'll see how that goes. The bot lane matchup, I always find Pantheon to be a bit of a hit or miss. Into a Sivir and Lulu, I feel like he's probably going to struggle a lot. Unless they're able to make a very strong play in the bot. I would want to see Poppy in the bot lane early, if possible. Otherwise, I really do feel like Froggy might struggle early on. I would put favoritism in Scorch's side this time around. Alright, heading into game 2. We'll let direct camera handle the start yet again. A lot of pings going out, but I'm not quite sure what they're saying.
To Summoner's Rift.
Some gold already, or wait, you don't get gold for pinging the words anymore? Thing? I don't know. Wait. That's what I gotta see. Yeah. There's 5 gold to Lulu, 5 gold to Echo and Misfortune. Significant gold advantage. Hero taking a lot of hurt. There's Lulu gonna have Pix helping. Ooh. That is a lot of hurt. Very early heal for whatever reason. I assume that Lulu thought that Sivir was gonna go take a tower hit, something. Or maybe just get out of the way early, because it's not like its cooldown is particularly long. Regardless, we'll probably be up for wave 4, I believe. And I feel that level 2 is already, for the most part, locked bag. Why is it that directed toggle never seems to want to work that well? Echo trying to get some vision on Xin Zhao's starting position. But I feel like he's probably going to be sacrificing a bit of gold as a result. Xin Zhao not starting with a health potion, I assume because his clears are pretty healthy. Unsure how that will dictate his early game contact against Poppy. Kale getting a pretty healthy start. Misfortune started Cull. And Echo's taking quite a bit of hurt. Ooh, I almost missed some stuff. My bad. Alright. So Misfortune was doing okay with CS a bit ago, but then their health just vanished, so again, you don't want to be too aggressive into a Lulu, otherwise you're just gonna have it thrown back at you if it's at a bad time. Kind of why you probably wanted Poppy down here sooner. And now your wave is pushed, so it could be problematic. On the bright side, the only way for Sivir to actually get any indicators of Poppy spotted on the ward. Only way Sivir can actually get any indicators on if an enemy is inside of a bush is through Ricochet managing to hit them. And heal will be back up here shortly. Alright, 2 points into queue for... Here comes the gank from Xin Zhao. Does force the flash out of Aatrox and a fast teleport by Echo. Pantheon trying to move around and give Misfortune a bit of solo XP, but it's still quite a dangerous situation for her down here. Comes the pause. Support ganked by children. Put him outside. Oh, back in my day. Yes, this is best of 3. Alright, sit tight. Calico must discipline their little ones. Avoid the aggro. We shall be unpaused. So not quite sure when it will restart. I don't really remember in the rules how each side has pause timer. See when it picks up. Alright, so Sivir's health is not in a great position at the moment, but they do have access to heal already, as well as barrier. So there's a lot of, you know, hidden tankiness. Oof. Oh, there were the R's. Okay, good. Flash stun from Pantheon. Out comes the barrier and heal. Oh no. No! Alright, I'm gonna restart. I think the pause probably messed it up. Okay, good. Alright, flash out by the Sivir does manage to survive. Mel teleporting down, flashing a B emote. Probably. Okay. Lanes will be swapped rather than parked. Ooh, misfortune. Recall stopped. A very dangerous position with the Mel at the moment. Kinda surprised she didn't go for another Q there. Maybe it was on cooldown. I don't know her cooldowns. Cooldowns. Poppy coming in for the charge. Doing a lot of damage. There comes the root onto the Pantheon. Whew. That was about like a 6th of his health with just a single Q. As Scorch will be walking back down to the bot lane for the AD carry. Scorch will be heading back to bot lane. But Boomster will not let them have the cannon minion. Kale doing just fine up top. They go for the cull. Ooh, these trades are very nice. But the minions are hurting a lot right now. Maybe a bit too much of an overextend. As the recall. Raytrox will be coming out. There was a dragon attempt started, which I missed. Scorch is getting pushed off. Will this mean a mountain? Basically free leashed mountain drake. Poor Froggy. Safe call. Next dragon being wind. Pantheon maybe getting caught out. Rusty Crow landing the W. Opting not to jump yet. There comes the flash from Mel. Does not land the root. Out comes the misfortune ultimate. Ooh. Not quite sure where the 3 hits onto Pantheon came from Mel, but okay. Wait, do you need 3 hits to prime for Mel's ultimate, or is it just anything that primes it? Whatever it is, not a fan. Misfortune getting pretty heavily chunked out. Does not have much mana. Will be movement towards the Void Grubs at this point. Lulu getting the recall. Not level 6 at the moment, but neither is Pantheon, who's actually sitting at level 4, so could be a very difficult Void Grub attempt, considering there is a level advantage in Team Scorch in every player except for Kale. So here comes the start of the attempt. Rusty will more than likely get spotted out by Poppy here in a bit. Did use his smite. Poppy ultimate coming out. Uses her smite on the grub. 2 fights right here. Flash coming out. Lulu dead. Should be 2 void grubs for Froggy. Good turns, good catches. Just need gold going to the right spots. Echo maintaining a relatively even state with the Mel. It's pretty fortunate for him. A Sivir will net some tower plating. Bot lane is surprisingly even at the moment. Despite Hero having a relatively rough time. Some casual aggression on Kale. Pantheon going over for a stun onto Sivir. Ooh, Sivir ult comes out. There's no repelling that one. Rusty Crow blocking a bit of damage himself as Flash goes out for Scorpion King, or Warrior King to get to safety. Mel trying to do what she can, does finish off one, not two, however. Teleport came out from Aatrox to give some aid to his team. Sivir getting out low. We should be able to see a couple of plates going to Froggy. Apologies to Warrior King for calling you Scorpion King. That's why I don't say names. I mess them up. What yawning are you talking of? Oh yeah, that was a feat. Alright, 3 kills feat went to Froggy right there. Still have objective and first tower on the table. Oh. Whoops. Alright, Rusty Crow. Not sure where he got spotted, but they did see him. I think it was probably on the tower. Getting completely locked down by Poppy and Pantheon. No way out from that. And nice shield from the Pantheon at that. Still only level 5, which definitely hurts his, you know, roaming around ability. Should be 6 soonish, though, hopefully. But Kale's still doing pretty darn well for herself. Alright, that will be the second feat going to Froggy this game around. Poppy with her already first enhanced boots of swiftness at the ready. Just working on our Iceborne Gauntlet. Going to be very difficult to get away from her at that point. You know, I know that I should be alert about feats, but with the lack of the indicator, I just forget until after that. Apologies, CLT. There comes Pantheon heading up to top side, does get outranged by the Kale's move speed boost. Gets to safety. As unsure where the next play will be. Looks like Hook and Bananasaur try to go for a pick. They do catch out Xin Zhao in the jungle. Does escape to the Krugs at the very least. So, thankfully for him, nothing really expended. His platings are gone. And we have Rift Herald spawning in the next minute. Echo's still doing better than I expected him to, no. Poppy and Xin Zhao just constantly trying to move for picks here. Calica possibly getting caught out. Polymorphs the Poppy. Poppy morphs. Ooh, Aatrox going ham onto Kale, who will go down. Kill to Aatrox. Now 2-0. Was a pretty okay trade between the MF and Sivir, but, you know, Lulu right there makes it a bit difficult to do much past that. But Xin Zhao deciding to go for the Pantheon, hits him for quite a bit, but has to back off thanks to Aatrox and Pantheon being right there. As the mid laners still battling out in the bot. Not really any ground either way going. Full rank 5 on Mel Q before opting for her E. And Xin Zhao will be taking some camps away from their opponents. Oh yeah, that was Rift Herald down. Was it that got it? Poppy. You know what that means. 4 more minutes till Adacon. Adacon's buff feels a bit odd. Alright. Ooh, Kale not in a great spot against the Aatrox right now. Does have her ultimate available, but these trades are very dangerous. Flash out from Mel. Alright, this pressure that Pantheon is able to apply has dished out a lot of flashes from Team Scorch so far. Aatrox getting a lot of gold is going to make him quite problematic later on. And Sivir and Misfortune both are relatively constant with the game progression at this point. Xin Zhao's still trying to get what he can in the enemy jungle. Spotted the Aatrox returning. Bone plating removed. Next dragon coming up. This will be a X-Tech Drake. It looks like it should be a clean take for Froggy. As it will. Lulu going for some deeper vision. Ooh, Mel in a bad spot. 3 on her. Cannot move. Invuln doesn't matter when it comes to just raw CC. that isn't projectile based. Mid is just a farm fest moment. Not really much to say there. But, ooh, Aatrox ulting. Nice job avoiding a lot of Aatrox's actions from the Kayle. Very nice ultimate. Cast the instant that Aatrox Q3 landed, but Pantheon there for the cleanup. That was his 4th kill. Lacking gold, well, lacking XP, but absolutely killing it with his gold income. Like, almost, or well, roughly half the gold lead is because of Pantheon at the moment. Or at least kill-wise. Objective-wise, he's done pretty well with helping secure a lot of it. Mustafa does spell shield the Pantheon. Stun. As Poppy pushes her further off. Lulu and Xin Zhao here are for support though. Pantheon in a really bad spot. Xin Zhao ult comes out late, unfortunately for him, so he took a lot and has to get out. Lulu flash popped. Kayle and Mel opting for macro plays, taking those middle and bot lane towers, but giving up their own top lane inner. It is a 2v4 at present, but Calico and Mustafa are both very low on health at present, so they can't really fight that off. Or they decide not to. This will be the second outer turret going towards Scorch. Fair trades, as it was funneled to Kayle. Kayle being a very big win condition whenever she's in a match. Especially in this one, since there's a lot of magic resistance foregoing. Poppy has 2 items invested towards full armor. There is no magic resistance otherwise in Merc Treads, but this is Rusty Crow getting taken out yet again. It's just a roaming death squad with the Pantheon and Poppy. Doesn't help with the Echo and Aatrox on top of him. Pantheon does have ultimate ready in a bit. Able to lend his support to this Atacon attempt here. But Rusty Crow is still dead. Kayle exceptionally low. Kill going to Poppy for Atacon, but cleanup crew from Froggy coming down immediately afterwards. Well, I say but. I forgot. Poppy is Team Froggy. Alright. 4+ objective for nothing. Hook coming onto Rusty Crow at the moment, though. Rusty should be able to get out just fine. 3rd hit was primed, so Hook didn't really try much past that. There would be no point. Let's get away. Fantastic fight from Froggy. They've been doing very well this match. Yeah, Froggy is absolutely making a very strong point to make this a 3-game series. Rusty Crow possibly getting caught out yet again. Got hit by a knock-up alongside Poppy's displacement for Pantheon to just walk on right over. Did I say pop on? Pantheon. Alright. That is just so much. Hitting you all at once. Kayle not having her ultimate ready is just can't step up like that. Poppy, Pantheon, Echo, and Aatrox just all stacking directly on top of you. You can't do nothing without ult. Fortunately, Lulu not being there and Sivir also not being there. And not really enough disruption on your end. It's unfortunate. I'm thinking that maybe if Mel were more of a hard CC centric pick, it might have fared better, possibly. Because there is a lot of stacking up that I'm noticing on Froggy's end with their composition. And unfortunately, there isn't really much to capitalize on that, because if they're all stacked on you and you just root them, they're still going to be hitting you. Maybe a Yasuo problem. Or no, Yasuo would not have been the answer. They are all melee. Although I guess there's Echo, but... Maybe Orianna? Actually, Orianna doesn't seem like it would be too bad in this situation. Maybe that would have been the route. But, oh well. I did not say anything about the Hextech Soul. But they got it. Froggy secured the Hextech Soul. Almost every member of their team has a bounty on their heads. All those objective bounties up for Scorch to chase. Kayle is pretty far from being super strong herself at this point. Needs 2 more levels and 1 more item before she becomes the terrifying abomination that she can be. Rusty Crow hovering. Decides to step up, does get rid of some bone. Ooh, that is a lot. Only to be expected of Aatrox at this point. He's been doing quite well for himself. Man, this Pantheon play, this match, like early on, it definitely felt a bit problematic, but boy, after that early phase, it's just turned into a powerhouse for him. Conflicting CC. Ooh. Calico getting nuked. Echo noticing just how much damage he did. Going in for a second kill. Yeah, as I was saying, Echo going in just briefly was ready to step out. And he just noticed, oh, I did half of Lulu's health. Why not just finish off? Ooh. Pantheon taking quite a bit, but getting out just fine. Tower will be sieged. Poppy putting a lot of pressure for Scorch to step back here. Looks like the first inhibitor will be... maybe? They do have a Baron empowered Ken minion still attacking. Poppy is putting some aggression. Alright, and there's the back off. Huh. You know, maybe Misfortune would want to like ult the wave there or something, you know? Might be decent. Like it would totally be very effective at pushing your enemies off of sieging that inhibitor and stuff, you know? Alright, we are up to a 10k gold lead at 26 minutes. Froggy absolutely stepped up their game this time around. And them having Hextech Soul is just gonna work so horribly against Scorch at this point. Alright, another turret down, another inhibitor should be following shortly. This has been a very active Baron play. Kayle still sitting up there doing what she can. Still quite far from level 16. deciding to head down, but still need that little bit more. Ooh, no! Xin Zhao! Ultimate comes down on him and try and keep him alive, but for not, as Aatrox will be finishing him out. Echo ult keeping him alive. A lot of damage coming out on the remaining members of Scorch. Boonstar trying to ult to finish off what they can. Does not succeed. Aatrox taking quite a bit of damage under the fountain trying to kill Mustafa. Unsuccessful. As here will possibly... Yep. This is the closeout of Game 2. We are now 1-1 for Scorch versus Froggy style. Congrats, Game 2, Froggy. Managed to secure that early mid-game lead and run away with it, capitalizing off of your opponent's findings in Zhao and other stragglers and absolutely punishing them for their mobility being stricken from them. Or, you know, just not having enough defensive vision. Yeah, I'm not sure why the Kale would be there. I don't think it's like most horrible thing. I feel like it was probably just something better than Mel needed there. Maybe. As I said, I think Oriana would probably have been a bit better of a fit. Uh, when you're running for a lot of move speed on your setup and are lacking that uh, control after all of the enemies jump onto a single target. Having that uh, dissonance move speed and shockwave ultimate would be pretty solid. Alright, and it looks like Scorch will be going red side yet again. Will give yet again. Fix the team sides as we go in to game 3 of this best of 3 between Scorch and Froggy style. Actually, I don't need to fix the sides. What am I saying? Ah, gotcha. I was wondering if each bullet counted as a stack from reflecting Misfortune Ultimate, because it's weird to me that that would be the case, because it's supposed to be like whenever Mel reflects something that it's supposedly casting the ability yourself, which I guess if it is a multi-hit ability, it does make sense. But it's also weird because it shouldn't work that way. Alright. Froggy style, hovering, 80 carries, going for Jinx. repeat bans from Scorch and Froggy alike for this game 3. Scorch opting for Maokai, their first pick. Hovering Lissandra. Maybe scaling isn't what they want to opt for on Scorch. They've been doing pretty well with snowballing setups. Playing idle just didn't seem to suit them that last time around. While Froggy style going very proactive definitely helped out quite a bit. See where those plays take him this time around. There is a Zac lock. I thought I fixed it. I'm sorry. I really thought I fixed it. But I am sorry for any yawns that you might hear. Intentionally woke myself up earlier today to prep for needing to wake up even earlier tomorrow for a flight. So that's what that's about. Alright, Locke's finishing up with Leona and Aphelios. That is a lot of tanks to be going into already. And with Leandri's nerfed by 10 AP, which doesn't really do anything to Leandri's. Lissandri's. Alright. Malphite and Ornn Hover. Orianna ban. They want to take out the delivery system. But is that the direction that Froggy style was going for? Oh, and Froggy banned Rise. Oh, actually, hold up. I forgot. Since it's game 3 of 3. Wait, that's not right. I forget how it goes. Just imagine I did a very bad rendition of Silver Scrape. Okay, there's the Kled lock by Froggy style. And Scorch going for Syndra. Kled into Syndra is very unfortunate for the Syndra. Ready to waste an ultimate. But might not matter. These are interesting teams. I don't like Vigor as a champion, but he is strong, so I'll allow it. And Mordekaiser, the final pick for Scorch. Solid damage balance on either side. Nice beefiness. Maokai and Mord into the Kled, Leona, and Zac. Got some very nice single target nuking in Syndra and Vigor alike. And Velios and Jinx are both quite capable carries. That will be a Kled top lane. Alright. As we got about 2.5 minutes before Game 3 gets started. Alright, looking at the compositions. The bot lane, Jinx Leona into Felios Milio. I want to say, that while it is very dangerous for the Felios and Milio, good play can make this great for them. As if you can land a well-timed Q for Milio, you can disrupt Leona's E. And any follow-up from Jinx with their snap traps may work against them, depending on the timing of the sort. A very tough call. I would say that it's even personally in the laning phase. Is that role swapping for Scorch? I don't know. Whoever is wherever they are. So Kled into Mordekaiser. I want to say that it's kind of who gets carried away initially. Kled's early game, I feel, is much stronger than Mordekaiser's. But Kled gets an inch, he does kind of get carried away. Shouldn't be too hard to be able to permit such things with a Zac on your side, as Mordekaiser's a pretty darn easy target to hit. So I kind of have faith on Froggy's end with that. But then again, the Mordekaiser pick was into the Kled, so we'll see how that goes. Then we got a Zac into a Maokai. Zac has better lane access, but both have pretty substantial amounts of agency in their kits. There is a considerable amount of control and disruption for Froggy, while Scorch do have several means of getting themselves out of such bad situations, and we'll see how any answers will go. All in all, I honestly can't say which team, legally, that I think will win this match. But feels like it's going to be a great one. I will be back briefly. So let me just swap to in-game. I'll make sure that the directed cam is going strong as I go to refill my water. Apologies. Must hydrate. Alright, and we'll be back. Ah! Okay, I gotta make sure that it doesn't mess up here. Top EC. sorry. While this is LOLMidwest, today's matches are brought to you by EU, apparently.
A summoner has reconnected.
Alright, there's the reconnect. There are the R's. Match shall resume. I guess it'll pause just a tad longer for streamer side. Alright, I'll let this play out just a tad longer to make sure it's frozen up or anything. Alright, I'll be right back.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Seconds until minions spawn. Minions have spawned.
I am back. Alright. So we got some solid trading.
You ain't going nowhere.
Ooh, Maokai rounding it up for first gank. Probably using Twist and Advance a bit early. Probably want to save it for after you knock him down, but is what it is. He's still in quite some trouble with Flash down. Anyways, first blood going to Mordekaiser. Game already starting off strong for Scorch with 1 kill towards their feet progress. As we shall see just how Hook and Hero opt for their match this time around. Alright. Ares backed, got himself some boots and cloth armor. Ooh, here comes a gank attempt. So many stuns to lock down Boonstra. Health is quite vanished. Will be forced to recall at this point. Ooh. Milio was in trouble a bit there as well. Ares poke going alright. Fair trades. Trying to swap with keys. Hard. So, Mordekaiser seems to be in a pretty comfy spot on his own at this point. It is a bit dangerous for Fuse to attempt to move on him. And he has a level advantage. Not a good time to go in right there. Will get knocked off of Scarl. Nice Q. One more should do it, but it's also kind of risky. Leaving now means that Kled is going to have a rough time. Kind of. While waiting to get back up onto his mount. Yeah, just 4 stacks every last hit. Taking his recall now. But the wave is not in a good state for him. Leona, E coming out. Snap traps catching Aphelios immediately afterwards. The trade going incredibly well. That shield is doing some work, scaring Hero off the wave. Stepping far back, they seem to assume that Zac might be hovering nearby. They don't want to take the chance. Ooh, there's a pause. Maybe there's something more than it seemed.
A summoner has disconnected.
Hold up. What's this chat? I can't scroll it. I am HR, not me this time. You do get to pick the rules. My brother works for HR, he'll ban you. Sorry, we investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing. Right, that is the 3rd ban. Or not ban, mute. Take a peek on the mid lane action as they entirely separate from each other. That's unfortunate. This is the streamer pause part, right? Where it seems like it's glitched up, it'll fix. Yes. Mordekaiser took another recall, has an amplifying tome now. As Aphelios gets himself a BF sword, as opposed to Jinx's slingshot and longsword, and call. Jinx going for the scaling game. Ooh, hold up. I have to see that. And then immediately swap to top. I apologize. Slingshot lands. Syndra does have flash. Gets stunned by Zac away from Leona's root. Opts to flash immediately afterwards to her death. Mordekaiser still has ultimate. Kled nearly knocked off his mount. Ooh, what is this? Rusty Crow in danger, as well as Mustafa. Will get stopped by Maokai, I think. Unless he was aiming for Maokai, not sure. Alright, Mustafa doing quite well this game. Playing very confidently despite the situation they were in. Didn't really feel the need to back up or anything. Vigor is level 6, does not have ultimate available at the moment. But Rusty Crow going to be taking a lot of hurt. Mustafa and Crow both getting caught up in the displacement of stun. But Maokai getting out. One more hit! Okay, okay. Aphelios taking that last shot onto the Zac. Did charge Vigor his flash as well. They do claim the first feat from that. 1 to 3. Void Grubs haven't been taken out as they haven't spawned yet, I thought they spawned at 6. Maybe I'm just hallucinating. What am I doing, man? What am I doing? Oh, did she hit level 6? There's level 6. Okay. Okay. Level 6, get in bush, cast ult. They will be none the wiser. Alright. Leona deciding to come up top here for... Okay, there's Zach. It's just like the Pantheon match. There's so much stacking CC, it makes it very difficult for Mordekaiser to actually do much. Deciding not to go for the tower dive. Oh wait. Who did he ult right there? Was it Leona? No, I think it was Leona. She probably would have hit him right there. Was it Zach then, maybe? Since he was low? It's really hard to see. The particles aren't all that clear in this. Alright, first dragon will be going to Scorch. That'll be the Ocean Drake, while the first 3 grubs go to Froggy. Alright, Leona will be hovering mid yet again. Doesn't have level 6 yet. Ooh, heading top lane instead, maybe? Will get seen on this ward. Zach is level 6. There is flash on Mordekaiser. Q landed. We'll get the stun. Nothing. This Vigor stacking up quite a bit of ability power. Only a difference of 10, surprisingly. I guess he does only have mana items at the moment, so... Felios going ham yet again. Does get 2 stacks. It's out quite safely. Syndra deciding to take a recall. Has a bit of gold to spend. Should be enough to finish Rhythm, I think. Yes. Luden's Echo primed and ready. Going up against the Rod of Ages on Vigor. As Mordekaiser's intent on proxying. Pick attempt seemingly gone awry. Felios once again going quite aggressively, nearly taking out Hero. Mordekaiser just taking the camps from Zach. Hard punish for spending time on the bottom side. Alright. Vigor flexing his AP. Very hard for Kled to attempt to step up. A situation like this isn't particularly ideal for him. Doesn't have a completed item to help with his output and sustain. Lane swaps. Although I'm honestly not sure if this lane swap would be beneficial. Good dodge. Leona is level 5 into a level 10 Mordekaiser, so... Oh, level 6 finally. Alright, Scorch holding on decently well. The game's still in even state. But there is a Vigor in the game, and eventually gets to the point where you can kind of one-shot squishies, so Jinx narrowly avoiding the Mordekaiser on recall. Good stun from Syndra for the poke. As the recalls come out, Dragon will be up in a minute. How much gold does everyone have? Vigor's sitting on quite a bit. Does have enough for a Needle Rod should he choose to actually leave. Zac coming out. Boonstra deciding to flash rather than interrupt it. What's with that sound effect? Okay. Alright, so Dragon is coming up. There is a bit of movement around the bottom side of the map. Looks like there is a bit of interest in securing it, with it being a Hextech Drake and all. Mordekaiser has teleport. Kled does not. Kled can interrupt Mordekaiser's teleport, so let's see how things go. And it seems like Scorch will be attempting to start it. Maokai ultimate coming out. Jinx will get caught. Twisted Advance comes in. Jinx is pushed towards the enemy team. As Syndra and Aphelios doing quite a bit of work. Zac passive out. Hook is dead. Jinx is not in a great spot, but Vigor ultimate coming out to delete Mustafa like it's nothing. Granted, he was at like a 3rd health. Or 4th health, so. Alright, Boonstra doesn't have access to their ultimate anymore. As we still not... Or we see kind of nothing going on top still. But nothing is fine for Mordekaiser. Not so much for the Kled. But then again, it's a Kled. Ooh, Milio... Not looking good for him. Not at all. Syndra's at least putting some distance there. Jinx and Vigor both very low. Mordekaiser arriving. But all the enemies are backed off at that point, and Kled has room to get some stuff done up top. At least plates are gone. That is a saving grace for Scorch. Alright, Rift Herald is up at this point. There still were only 3 Void Grubs claimed. And... wait a second. Shouldn't there have been the 2nd feat finished by now? Or is it one more objective that needs to be claimed? Yeah, I keep forgetting whether it's 2 or 3, but yeah, it's 3 map objectives, so doesn't seem to be any sort of priority in getting it. Nice poke from Syndra. Kled and Mordekaiser fighting each other yet again. Ultimate came out. Seems to be on the Zac. His allies are converging, but it's only Rusty Crow there so far. Zac flashing away. Nice Q flash from Mordekaiser for the kill, as Hook will be isolated. Don't walk too far forward, Eris, otherwise you give a way out. But that's fine. As Kled is dismounted, ult comes out from Aphelios. Took a bit too many tower shots after dropped by Mordekaiser, the tower aggro, leading to his death, unfortunately for Mustafa. As Vigor is trying to sit around here, trying to see if he can make any sort of pick happen here. Might be a bit dangerous. There is no magic resistance on any of his opponents, I don't believe, at the moment. Actually, there's Unending Despair on Maokai. Oh wait, that's not magic resist, that's the armor one. I forget what the Sunfire one's called. You know, say what you will, Mustafa is playing aggressively in a way that's fun to watch, so. And isn't that the point? So long as you win. The sounds are still happening. Zac coming in. A lot of lockdown onto Aphelios. Almost getting out. Not quite sure what held him in there. Maybe he stepped on another snap trap. That was a lot used to take him out, though. It was like, what? Jinx Rocket, which missed. Leona ult. Leona Ignite. I think Kled was involved, and Zac ult as well. Dragon up in a minute, so some of that stuff is going to be back up regardless. Aphelio has all of his cooldowns. Milio ultimate is on cooldown though, so honestly kind of in favor of Froggy in the end. Atacon is up. The last feat was gotten by Scorch. I didn't see when Rift Herald was killed, but Maokai got it. Vision fights going on. Ooh, lot of pick attempts going on to the Aphelios, but he gets out successfully. Rusty Crow taking the last hit to Leona. Mordekaiser had Jinx ulted. That is why Aphelios did not kill her. Mordekaiser doing quite well. Kled is absolutely going to have issues dealing with him, which is what you want as a Mordekaiser. Alright, as Zac is rounding the outside, is finally spotted. As Dragon will be secured, there is the flash twisted advance knock back into Mordekaiser. Oof, a lot of damage from just the Q of the Vigor. As Atacon will possibly be going down not long after. Ares getting taken down quite low. Here comes the Kled ult from the side. Aiming for the Milio, perhaps? Nope. There goes the Aphelios down. Atacon still doing a lot of damage right here. Milio walking over to him. Will die here to the Vigor. As Boonstar got a kill on his own on Leona. But Jinx is here trying to take out Mustafa in the end. And Aphelios will get out with his life until he walks into a Vigor. Rusty taking a lot of damage for a double kill for one rocket by Jinx. Whew. These are some wild fights. And it looks like Atacon went to Froggy. Alright, gold values are pretty even at the moment. And Scorch has mastered the elements. Oh. Tower gone to Jinx. Second tower of the game. at 22 minutes. Both bot towers. Good angle from Kled to throw the entire fight into disarray. Nice job from basically the entirety of Froggy from singling out and taking out Aphelios. It's proven to be a bit difficult for Milio to find himself some good moments to ult here. Hold up. I will back up to see that. And it did the thing again. Alright. Backing up just to see what happened down here. And that backed up a lot further than it should have from 2 backspaces. Alright. So Jinx got spotted on the recall. Mordekaiser chasing down. Gets CC'd, rooted another root. Ulted Leona. Takes around the back. As Jinx will come in to finish off. Nice job. Rift Herald. It didn't bug the camera this time. Interesting. As Zac goes up top to try and lay one into Boonstra. As he will. Alright, is Froggy going to be running away with this match at this point? Vigor is getting incredibly strong. Death Cap will be coming up not too much longer. Its price was reduced, so he probably actually has enough for it right now. And when he gets that, I feel that everyone on Scorch at this point is in one-shot range of Vigor. He is sitting on 277 stacks. Almost 700 AP before Death Cap is being factored in. And he's almost at level 16. This is a menace of a champion to be dealing with right now. And honestly, I am uncertain as to what Scorch can actually do at this point. There's some heavy pings on getting the next dragon. Won't be the first time that Dragon Progress sees a drastic stop to go towards a different team partway through. Jinx also quite ahead. The amount of power being loaded into both carries for Froggy has been very, very well handled this game. Ooh, here comes a pick attempt. Hook flashing out for his life. Ares Flash is down at the moment as well. Alright. A lot of setup going on for Dragon at the moment. Is Scorch just going to give this away? They are pushing down mid to at least command superiority of the wave. Dragon's up in 15, so there is still a bit of time. They can get some stuff done. Honestly, kind of surprised there's no objective bounties up at the moment. Alright, Vigor, wall comes down, and Aphelios dies as if it is nothing. There comes the Leona ultimate, hits 2, but they get out. Milio ultimate down. Man, these situations are very hard against the Vigor. Like, so difficult. Because anyone that gets close to him is dead. And then, even when he takes one person out, his wall is such an issue to deal with. Because a lot of champions can't really do anything around it. It's more of like a divider of its like full circumcision, while the inside at this point is just kind of a death chamber. where even if Milio had the most perfect ultimate imaginable, even if Milio got Mikhail, whoever gets hit by that wall is dead. Because it will have enough downtime for Vigor Q to nail them, and any follow-up after. That is the dangerous thing that Scorch is dealing with at this point. It's not even factoring in the fact that the follow-up to the Vigor Cage is insane. They've got the Zac, they've got Kled, like there's so much offensive move speed, and then Leona's there just to do whatever. Like honestly at this point, Leona doesn't have to play any engagement roles because it's already, for the most part, handled by the Zac and Kled. So she can play defensive, she can play aggressive, whatever needs to fit the bill, because there's already basically a wall that the enemy has to plow through in order to get anything. There's no pick potential, unfortunately, for Scorch. The most pick potential there is Maokai ult coming out and you just abandoning, and the enemy team just abandoning their ally, but that's not really going to happen in this state. Here's a Baron event coming up. Rusty possibly trying to go for a steal. Doesn't really get anything. Leona abilities come out. Not really going to be a follow-up for a kill. Pro does get caught in the cage, but lives, as there's not really anything to do over that. Unless you want to overextend and get yourself killed. So. Cage comes out, 2 abilities hit, and Mordekaiser almost dies. I want to say that a Vigor ult there would kill him at half health. 100%. Alright, there comes the flash root knockback into team. The Syndra stun misses, unfortunately. Mordekaiser dead, Syndra dead. But Vigor does go down to the Syndra. But look at the top. Jinx is obliterating Scorch's base right now, alongside Kled. Leona stalling Aphelios' return. And just how much is going to be annihilated before anyone is going to be able to get back? This looks like it's already a game end, actually. Alright, Milio's returned, but to no avail. That is game 3. Going to Froggy style. Nice job on Leona in the end, stopping the enemy's back, while Jinx and Kled just devastate the entire enemy base. I didn't even notice when they went up there, to be honest, but I did see them when they started hacking away at that inner turret up top. And it took a bit for Scorch to realize it themselves, but they were too deep at a point. If you split up, then, like, Leona's ultimate, so much range, and you're in a territory where they have a lot of vision in, so recalling close is dangerous, and even if you split up past a certain point, even recalling far can kind of be shut down. That is such a horrible spot to be in, unfortunately. And just congratulations on Froggy Squad for succeeding the 2nd seed in Group C. Early game was looking a bit tough with Scorch. They have... Oh yeah, forgot. They go against whoever wins the next tiebreaker between Scorch and... What was the other team name? It was something with an I somewhere. Yeah, Scorch versus Vancouver Impact Challengers will be yet another tiebreaker for Group C that will be taking place Uh, Sunday at 7 Eastern Time. I assume PM, unless it's gonna be a 7 a.m. fight, you know. But I want to safely assume that it is PM for that match. But whoever wins, or if Vancouver Impact wins that game, I would assume that is going to be a second tiebreaker between Froggy Style and Vancouver Impact challengers. But if Scorch wins, then I believe that will secure Froggy Style's second place, and maybe do a third place match between Scorch and Vancouver Impact again. Unsure of the specifics. If I'm wrong about that, feel free to correct me. Uh, Honestly, I'm not sure what to say about that match. It's very unfortunate that like Mustafa shows a very good amount of aggression on Aphelios and with Sivir and whatnot. But unfortunately, unlike with Tristana, who can get out of bad situations pretty easily, the situations he got himself into are not quite those that he did have a good chance of getting out of, like in the middle and later phase of the game, which is very unfortunate for him. Uh, Going up against a Vigor is just sheer pain because, in my opinion, it's like playing against a Kale except with like double the scaling speed. Just because at certain points, it's a matter of how long is it until he can one-shot your champion. And if it gets to that point, then it just becomes, okay, how many champions on our team can they one-shot? And at that point, the threat is just so significant that unless you make a mistake, like he kind of did in that last fight, just walking forward into all of the CC and whatnot, and getting the trade with Syndra, it still worked out for them in the end because they lost two, and Leona was able to stall until the finish. And yeah, the early game looked pretty tough, yeah, because the Mordekaiser into the Kled and the early kill into Kled making it kind of a not very playable state. Did get a lot of support from Zac and Leona up there, which was kind of double-sided in terms of benefits. Like, unfortunately, Kled never really got a point where he had a good say in the game, but the sheer utility and disruption force that the champion provides was more than enough for his team to be able to capitalize off of. So, despite being behind, there was still something that was able to be done, which was executed successfully, which is where the props go to. And yeah, being picked into a losing lane like that did what was possible. That was all that needed to be asked. Unfortunately, Syndra wasn't able to keep Vigor in check. The map presence between Leona and between Hook and Bananasaur over these past two matches were very prevalent. Uh, Very nice picks here and there. The funneling of gold was very well orchestrated in this game, especially. Just good jobs all around. Game one, Scorch doing that as well with Mustafa. Those Tristana comps are strong, man. Kled has a positive win rate against Mord. Not really. Again, I feel like the Kled versus Mord matchup depends on early game. If Kled can get a shoe in early game, then you would just kind of steamroll the Mordekaiser. But it's kind of like that with Kled and a lot of champions, I think. Mordekaiser just had access to the very early boots and cloth armor purchase, which helped his ability to perform very well, which can be very hard to play into. So whatever. There's always circumstances that matter that just looking at raw stats don't necessarily tell you what you need to know. So even if there are like positive percents in certain champions and certain setups, there could be a reason for it, like how the in my opinion, not sure how true this is, but it's how it feels, that the Yone win rate, especially back when Lethal Tempo was still absolutely busted, uh, it always feels like anyone that plays the Win Bros int it until they win it if they start getting behind, and that causes win rates to be lower than they should be, than if they actually played consistently for proper stuff. But whatever. That was the end of three incredible games. Yet another series. Froggy style in the lead at this point for the second seed of Group C. There will be yet another tiebreaker coming in a few days, and then possibly another tiebreaker not long after that. Or maybe it's guaranteed. I'm not sure on how it works out if Scorch and Vancouver Impact ends with Vancouver Impact winning. Whether they will go. If Vancouver Impact loses, I mean, whether they will fight Scorch a second time or not. But that is for the schedule makers and people that actually put a lot more effort into this to look into. Thank you for everyone that handles this stuff, JMosis, CLT, and all the others, and very good game too, Froggy style. Alright, that will be it. Hope everyone has had a great time and have fun stuff. Bye.